Have you ever met someone and wished you could know exactly what they were thinking? What if I told you that one of history's greatest minds, Nikola Tesla, the man who gave us alternating current and envisioned wireless communication decades before it became reality, believed he could read people like open books, not through some mystical power or supernatural ability, but through three simple questions that revealed the very essence of a person's character, motivations, and future potential. Tesla wasn't just an inventor of machines. He was an inventor of methods, a student of human nature who understood that the human mind operates on principles just as predictable as electricity flowing through a wire. And today, I'm going to share with you the exact framework he used. Three questions so powerful that they can unveil the deepest truths about anyone you meet. Before we dive into these questions, you need to understand something crucial about Tesla himself. This was a man who could visualize entire machines in his mind, complete with every gear, wire, and measurement without ever putting pen to paper. He once said, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence." Tesla understood that behind every physical reality lies an invisible pattern, a blueprint, a frequency. And he applied this same principle to understanding people. While others saw random behaviors and unpredictable emotions, Tesla saw patterns, frequencies, and energy signatures that revealed everything about a person's true nature. Now imagine you're at a dinner party, a business meeting, or even on a first date. The person sitting across from you is presenting themselves in the best possible light, saying all the right things, displaying all the appropriate social behaviors. But are they genuine? Are they trustworthy? Are they someone who will follow through on their promises? Most people spend years with someone before discovering their true character, often learning painful lessons in the process. But what if you could accelerate that process? What if you could see beneath the mask in a matter of minutes? Tesla believed this was not only possible, but essential. In a world where he was constantly surrounded by investors who made grand promises, partners who claimed dedication, and competitors who pretended friendship, he needed a reliable method to quickly assess who deserved his trust and attention. And so he developed his three-question framework, not written in any textbook, but passed down through accounts of those who knew him, hidden in the observations of his contemporaries, and embedded in his own writings about human nature and energy. The first question Tesla would explore, though not always in these exact words, was this: what do you do when no one is watching? This question cut straight to the heart of a person's character. You see, Tesla understood something that modern psychology has only recently confirmed. Human beings are masters of performance. We adapt our behavior based on our audience, our environment, and our perceived benefits. But the true measure of a person isn't found in their public persona. It's found in the privacy of their own company, in the small moments when there's no applause to be gained, no reputation to uphold, no consequences to fear. Tesla himself was legendary for his private discipline. While others saw the eccentric genius who made grand demonstrations of electrical phenomena, those who knew him intimately understood that his real work happened in solitude. He would work through the night, not because anyone was forcing him, not because any deadline demanded it, but because his inner drive, his personal standards, would accept nothing less. He once remarked, "I do not think there is any thrill that can go through the human heart like that felt by the inventor, as he sees some creation of the brain unfolding to success." Notice what he's describing. The thrill comes from the creation itself, not from the recognition that might follow. When you ask someone this question, or variations of it, you're really asking them to reveal their internal operating system. Are they motivated by external validation or internal standards? Do they maintain their principles when no one is watching? Or do their values evaporate in the absence of an audience? A person who does the right thing only when observed is a person operating on fear and reputation management. A person who does the right thing in solitude is operating on principle and integrity. That difference isn't trivial. It's everything. Think about it this way. If someone exercises only when their trainer is watching, they'll never maintain their fitness. If someone is honest only when they might get caught lying, they're not honest at all. If someone works hard only when the boss is around, they're not a hard worker. They're a performer. And Tesla, who valued authentic dedication above all else, could spot performers from miles away. He wasn't interested in people who could act the part. He was interested in people who embodied the part, who were the same person alone in their laboratory at 3 in the morning as they were standing before a crowd of admirers. Now, here's where this gets practical for you. When you're evaluating someone, whether it's a potential business partner, a new friend, or a romantic interest, listen carefully to how they talk about their private time. Do they mention personal projects they work on for no reason other than passion? Do they describe habits and routines they maintain even when it's inconvenient? Do they admit to failures and challenges they faced when no one would have known the difference? These are the signs of someone with genuine character. Someone whose behavior is consistent because it flows from their core identity rather than external pressures. On the flip side, be wary of people who only tell stories where they're the hero in front of others, who only describe achievements that came with recognition, who seem to have no private life of discipline or principle. These are people who will behave very differently when the spotlight moves away, when the contract is signed, when the relationship is secure. Tesla avoided these people at all costs because he understood that genius requires collaboration with the reliable, not the theatrical. The second question in Tesla's framework digs even deeper. What captures your attention when your mind is free to wander? This question reveals a person's true priorities, their genuine interests, and most importantly, the frequency at which their mind naturally operates. Tesla was obsessed with frequency and vibration. He famously said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." But he didn't apply this only to his electrical experiments. He applied it to human consciousness itself. Think about your own experience. When you're sitting in traffic, standing in line, or lying in bed before sleep, where does your mind go? Does it go to problems you want to solve? Does it go to people you care about? Does it go to creative ideas? Does it replay grievances and resentments? Does it plan future achievements? Does it worry about what others think of you? These automatic thoughts, these default mental pathways, reveal more about who you are than almost anything you might consciously choose to say. Tesla's mind, by all accounts, was constantly alive with invention. Even in casual conversation, even during meals, his attention would drift to problems of energy transmission, to visualizations of rotating magnetic fields, to possibilities that existed just beyond the reach of current technology. This wasn't something he forced. It was simply where his mind naturally lived. And he recognized that every person has such a natural habitat for their consciousness, a default frequency that reveals their deepest nature. When you understand what captures someone's attention, you understand what drives them at the most fundamental level. A person whose mind constantly returns to how they're perceived by others is someone who will prioritize reputation over truth, appearance over substance. A person whose mind gravitates toward problems and solutions is someone wired for innovation and progress. A person whose thoughts continually circle back to past hurts is someone still trapped in old patterns, unable to move forward with clarity. But here's the subtle brilliance of this question. Most people don't consciously know the answer themselves. They've never stepped back to observe their own mental patterns. So when you ask them, or create conversations that naturally reveal this information, you're often helping them discover something about themselves, even as you're discovering it too. You might ask questions like, what do you think about on your commute? When you can't sleep, where does your mind go? If you had a completely free day with no obligations, what would you find yourself drawn to? The answers to these questions tell you whether someone is living in the past, the present, or the future. They tell you whether someone is oriented toward creation or destruction, toward growth or stagnation, toward possibility or limitation. Tesla, who lived almost entirely in the realm of future possibilities, was naturally drawn to others who thought in similar terms. He had little patience for those whose mental energy was consumed by petty concerns, by social politics, or by dwelling on what could not be changed. There's a deeper layer here too. The things that capture our attention when our guard is down reveal our unmet needs and unconscious desires. Someone whose mind constantly goes to financial concerns is revealing either scarcity or ambition around resources. Someone whose thoughts drift to relationships is revealing either fulfillment or hunger in their connections with others. Someone whose attention is captured by learning and understanding is revealing a mind that finds meaning in growth. By understanding where someone's attention naturally flows, you understand the currents that will guide their future decisions, often before they consciously make them. Now we arrive at the third and perhaps most revealing question in Tesla's framework. What would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? This question strips away all the protective layers of practicality, fear, and social conditioning to reveal a person's true aspirations and the size of their vision for themselves. Tesla himself embodied this principle throughout his life. He attempted things that every expert told him were impossible. He pursued visions that had no precedent, no roadmap, no guarantee of success. When asked about his failures, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This question reveals whether someone thinks in terms of limitations or possibilities. It shows you whether their dreams are modest or magnificent, whether they're playing to not lose or playing to win, whether they see themselves as a supporting character in life's story or the author of their own epic narrative. The size of a person's answer to this question tells you the size of their spirit. But there's something even more important that this question reveals. It shows you what fear has taken from them. You see, most people's actual lives are dramatically smaller than their potential lives, not because they lack capability, but because they lack courage. They've made 1,000 small compromises with fear, traded 1,000 possibilities for a bit more security, and slowly contracted their vision of what's possible down to what seems safe. When someone answers this question, listen not just to what they say, but to how they say it. Do their eyes light up? Does their energy shift? Do they lean forward and speak faster? Or do they give you a practiced, safe answer that sounds impressive, but carries no real emotional charge? The genuine answer to this question, the one that comes from deep within, always carries energy with it because it's connected to that part of us that remains unchained by circumstance, that still believes in magic, that refuses to be diminished by past failures. Tesla would have said that this question reveals a person's energetic potential, their capacity to generate force in the world. Someone whose biggest dream is modest and safe is someone whose energy will remain modest and safe. They'll be reliable perhaps, but they'll never be exceptional. They'll follow rules but never break new ground. They'll participate in the world but never transform it. And Tesla, whose entire life was about transformation, about bringing into reality what had never existed before, needed to surround himself with people whose energy matched his own, people who could dream at his frequency. Consider how this applies to your own life. The people you choose to have around you, whether in business, friendship, or love, will either expand or contract your own sense of possibility. If you surround yourself with people whose dreams are small, whose vision is limited, whose answer to this third question is safe and conventional, you will unconsciously adjust your own dreams downward to match. It's not that they'll directly discourage you. It's that human beings are fundamentally social creatures, and we calibrate ourselves to our surroundings. But if you surround yourself with people who answer this question with audacity, with visions that seem almost absurd in their ambition, with dreams that make your own seem modest by comparison, you'll find your own sense of possibility expanding. You'll start to think bigger, attempt more, and break through limitations you didn't even know you'd accepted. This is why Tesla was so careful about his associations. He understood that consciousness is contagious, that energy is transferable, that the company you keep shapes the reality you create. Now, here's where all three questions come together into a complete picture of someone's character. The first question reveals their integrity, the foundation of who they are when all external structures are removed. The second question reveals their natural orientation, the direction their energy flows when not being consciously directed. The third question reveals their potential, the magnitude of force they're capable of generating in the world. Together, these three questions give you a three-dimensional understanding of someone's essential nature. A person with high integrity, positive orientation, and large potential is someone who will move mountains and inspire others to join them. A person with high integrity but negative orientation and small potential is someone reliable but limited. A person with low integrity, regardless of orientation or potential, is someone to keep at a distance because their foundation cannot support any lasting structure. A person with large potential but low integrity is perhaps the most dangerous of all, capable of significant impact, but without the moral framework to ensure that impact is positive. Tesla used this framework not just to evaluate others, but to evaluate himself. He held himself to impossibly high standards in all three dimensions. His integrity was legendary. He worked when no one was watching. He maintained principles even when they cost him financially. His orientation was relentlessly forward-focused. His mind lived in the future, in possibility, in the not yet created. And his potential, his willingness to attempt the impossible, defined his entire career. He was the living embodiment of the framework he used to understand others. But here's something crucial that often gets missed. These three questions aren't just diagnostic tools. They're developmental tools. When you ask them of yourself, when you honestly examine your own answers, you're given a roadmap for personal evolution. If your integrity when no one is watching doesn't match the person you want to be, that's not a condemnation. It's an invitation to close the gap. If your mind's default orientation is toward negativity, limitation, or past pain, that's not a permanent condition. It's a pattern that can be interrupted and redirected. If your answer to the question about what you'd attempt reveals dreams smaller than you know yourself capable of, that's not a ceiling. It's a floor you can build upon. Tesla believed that human consciousness was far more malleable, far more powerful, and far more electrical in nature than most people understood. He saw the brain as a receiver and transmitter, constantly picking up and broadcasting frequencies. The thoughts we think, the attention we give, the dreams we hold, all of these are frequencies we're transmitting into the field around us. And the people we attract, the circumstances we encounter, the reality we experience, all of these are responses to the frequencies we're broadcasting. This is why understanding these three questions is so powerful. When you understand what you're currently broadcasting, you gain the power to consciously adjust your signal. If you're broadcasting limitation through your attention patterns and small dreams, you'll attract circumstances that match that frequency. If you're broadcasting possibility, integrity, and bold vision, you'll attract very different circumstances and very different people. There's a practical exercise you can do right now. Think of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Ask yourself these 3 questions about each of them. What do they do when no one is watching? What captures their attention when their mind is free to wander? What would they attempt if they knew they could not fail? Your honest answers will reveal whether your current circle is supporting your evolution or limiting it. And more importantly, it will reveal which frequencies you're surrounding yourself with, which signals you're being influenced by, which reality you're being drawn into. Tesla once said, "The scientists of today think deeply instead of clearly. One must be sane to think clearly, but one can think deeply and be quite insane." This observation applies directly to how we evaluate people. We often think deeply about surface behaviors, analyzing words and actions in elaborate detail, when we should be thinking clearly about fundamental patterns. These 3 questions cut through the noise. They bypass the performance. They reveal the essential frequency at which someone operates in your own life, whether you're hiring someone, choosing a partner, deciding on a friend, or even evaluating whether to continue a relationship. These 3 questions give you clarity that years of casual interaction might never provide, but they require honesty, both in the asking and in the hearing of answers. They require you to value truth over comfort, substance over style, essence over appearance. The beauty of this framework is its simplicity. 3 questions. But within those 3 questions lives a complete psychology of human nature, a practical method for seeing past the masks we all wear, and a tool for accelerating understanding that might otherwise take years to develop. Tesla, who valued efficiency in all things, who sought always to find the essential principle beneath complex phenomena, gave us a framework that is itself a model of efficient design. As you go forward from this moment, carry these 3 questions with you.
Ask them of others, but more importantly, ask them of yourself.
Let them guide your choices about who you allow into your inner circle. Let them inform your understanding of the people already in your life. Let them serve as a mirror showing you who you currently are and a map showing you who you might become. Remember that Tesla didn't use this framework to judge people harshly or to dismiss them quickly. He used it to understand them clearly, to know where they truly stood, to calibrate his expectations and his trust appropriately. Some people, he found, were best admired from a distance. Some were suitable for specific collaborations but not deep friendship. And some, the rare few who answered all 3 questions in ways that resonated with his own frequency, became lifelong allies in his mission to transform the world. Your life is too short and too precious to waste on relationships built on illusion. These 3 questions help you build relationships on reality, on genuine understanding, on frequencies that harmonize rather than clash. In a world full of noise, they help you hear the signal. In a sea of performers, they help you find the authentic. In a crowd of the conventional, they help you recognize the extraordinary. This is what Tesla understood that so many miss. Reading someone's mind isn't about supernatural powers or mysterious abilities. It's about asking the right questions, listening carefully to the answers, and understanding that every person is broadcasting their essential nature in everything they do. All you have to do is tune your receiver to the right frequency. These 3 questions are your tuning mechanism, your way of cutting through static to hear the clear signal of who someone truly is.
Use them wisely.
Use them honestly. And watch as the people and circumstances in your life begin to align with the reality you're consciously creating rather than the illusions you've been unconsciously accepting.